Hi everyone, thanks very much for joining us today. Let me just start my presentation here. As you heard in the introduction, my name is James Swinton-Bland. I'm the Developer Relations Lead here at AG Grid. I've been here for about 18 months or so. And this quick 5-10 minute presentation is just to introduce you to our Forge Day challenge. So this is what we're going to cover here quickly over the next couple of slides. What we want to do is just give you a little bit of background about what AG Grid is and how it works, and then do the same thing for AG Charts to get you on some solid footing so that you can hit the ground running when you start to work through these different steps in the challenge. We'll then do a quick challenge overview so you can kind of see where we start from, what the final solution should look like, and we'll take a look through the starter template that you should all have access to just to show you where you need to focus your attention and where you need to be adding the appropriate code and things like that. So diving straight in then, what is AG Grid? So for those of you who don't know, it's a framework agnostic JavaScript data grid library. So we officially support React, Angular, and Vue, as well as vanilla JavaScript. For this challenge, we're going to be focusing on React, but all of the concepts that you're going to cover today are transferable to all the other frameworks, obviously just with a slightly different syntax. So AG Grid is available in 2 different versions. We have the community and the enterprise version. The community version is free, it's open source, MIT licensed, and it comes with all the core features that you would expect from a data grid or a table. So things like sorting, filtering, and editing, as well as adding your own custom components and custom themes and things of that nature. Our enterprise version of the product requires a license, and it gives you access to loads more advanced features, things like grouping and pivoting, master detail, integrated charting, aggregation, so on and so forth. You can actually try AG Grid Enterprise for free. You don't need to purchase a license to install it locally. You'll just get a little console error message and a watermark that pops up. So in this challenge, we'll be covering features from both AG Grid Community as well as AG Grid Enterprise, with a focus on the integrated charting piece, which is actually powered behind the scenes by AG Charts. And you'll be able to get hands-on with both of these things. So just quickly to give you an overview of how it works so that you can kind of understand the starter template, which has kind of built things out a little bit for you. There's sort of 3 main building blocks to a data grid with AG Grid. You have your row data, which is essentially an array of JSON objects, which is your data that you want to display within the grid. You have your column definitions, which again is an array of objects. Each object here represents a single column, and those columns map to data within your row data. And then finally, you have the grid options, which is the actual AG Grid component. This is where you pass everything through to the component, so your things like your row data and your column definitions, but it also allows you to configure grid-wide features, hook into events, and things of that nature. So these are the 3 main building blocks. I'll just give you a quick example of what these actually look like. So your row data here is just an array of JSON objects. In this example, we're using a car data set, so we have the make, the model, and whether or not it's electric, and then you can have as many of these rows as you like. And then we use our column definitions to map these columns to the row data. So we can see here, this would create a data grid with 3 columns. The first one is for the make, then we have the model and whether it is electric or not. And then we can also add in these additional properties that let us control and configure how the grid columns should actually work. So in this case, in the make column, we're using a value formatter, so we can do some customization of the value that's displayed within the cell. And we can also use things like cell renderers and lots of other features as well. So I don't want to give too much away now. These are some of the things you're going to touch on in the challenge. But the main thing to take away here is that column definitions map your columns to your row data, and you can also add additional properties to customize and configure your columns. And then finally, you have the grid options, which go into the AG Grid React component as properties. So this is where we pass through our row data, our column definitions, but it's also where we can configure things like event handlers or grid-wide options that we might want to configure. So if we put all this together, this is a really simple example of a data grid component built by AG Grid, probably about 20 lines of code or so. We have our row data, we map that data to columns using the column definitions, and then we pass both of those things through into the AG Grid React component, and then the data grid will be created and displayed by the AG Grid library. So it's nice and simple, but just wanted to give you that kind of base knowledge so that you are able to sort of hit the ground running when you start this project. Just going to quickly run through the same thing, but with AG Charts here. So again, it's a framework agnostic library. This time it's a JavaScript charting library. Again, we support React, Angular, and Vue, but today we're going to be focusing on React. And it comes in the same sort of format as AG-Grid does. So we have a community version, which is free, and it gives you all the sort of base core features you'd expect from a charting library. And then we have AG Charts Enterprise, which requires a license, or you can try it for free locally, which is what we'll be doing today. And that gives you access to more advanced features that you can see there. And then on the right-hand side, we have an example of what a financial chart looks like when it's built with AG Charts. So configuring AG Charts is a little bit more straightforward than configuring AG Grid. You just have two building blocks. Essentially, you have a chart options object, and then you pass this object through to the AG Charts component, and we take care of everything else. We will render the entire chart for you using your data set. So again, just to put this into a little bit of context, your chart options is one big JSON object. This object has different properties that represent different options that you can configure within AG Charts. So the main one here is data, which is an array of JSON data that you want to plot within a chart. And then you can also pass through loads of other options. So one example is the series. You want to tell the chart what type of chart type you want to display. So in this case, it's a bar chart. And then you tell it we want to use the month data along the x-axis and the ice cream sales along the y-axis. And then simply all we do is take that object, pass it through to the options property in the AG Charts component, and we have a working chart. So this example here would simply take this data, plot it in a bar chart for you, and you would get a very simple little chart. So that's a crash course in how to work with AG Grids and AG Charts. If you want to see both of these things in a little bit more detail, or give yourself a little bit more time to kind of digest how this works, just head on over to our documentation. These examples are both taken from the quick start, so you can see that in action. You can play around with the end result, and you can get a little bit more context for how this actually works. So now let's actually take a look at the challenge itself. So as you know from the title, we're going to be building an interactive financial dashboard with grids and charts inside of it. So what we've done is we've provided a dummy data set that contains lots of different information about lots of different sort of stocks. So you can find this in the sort of starter template repo. It's inside the utils folder in a data.js file. And this is all kind of just generated dummy data. But as you can see here, it's got a lot of different information about lots of different stocks. So we have the name of the stock, when we bought it, how much we paid, how many shares we have. And then we also have more detailed pricing history, things like the date, open, high, low, close, and volume. And this is the data that we're ultimately then going to display in our financial chart so that we can see sort of an interactive view of this stock and how it's performed over time. So if we take a quick look here on the right-hand side, this is what the project looks like. If you clone that repo or download it and run it, this is what you'll see. So it's a very basic chart that just plots that data from that, a very basic grid that just displays and renders that data from the data.js file with no sort of customization, no configuration, looks kind of boring and dull, and it's designed to be that way. We also have the financial chart just above, and at the moment it's saying no data to display. And that's because part of the challenge is to hook these things up so that they work together, and also to make things look a lot nicer and provide a better user experience. So by the end of the challenge, you should have something that looks similar to the right-hand side. You can see there that it's a lot more colorful. We've added custom cell styles. We've put charts inside the grid. We've got row selection enabled. We've got custom cell renderers. We're formatting values in lots of different ways. And the challenge is designed to kind of take you through a step-by-step process where the first sort of couple of challenges are really quite straightforward and simple. And as you go through the challenges, they get more and more involved and a little bit more complex. So if you start getting towards the end, don't be put off or anything like that. If you feel like things are getting a little bit harder, and along the way, there's lots of different hints that you can look into. And we've also provided the solutions as commits, so you can go and take a look at the solution. But try not to do that if you can avoid it. It's always best to challenge yourself a little bit. There's also a bonus challenge for anyone who manages to get through all 10, which is a little bit more complicated. And we've purposefully not put in any sort of hints and things like that. So try and challenge you a little bit more. So just before we hand over and let you get started here, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the starter template so you can kind of see where you are and get running from there. So let me just exit from here. And if we come across, so this is what the project looks like. This is what you'll be able to clone. the files that you're going to be working in are all inside this components. So the main one is data grid. This is probably where you're going to be doing the majority of your work. And if we just take a quick look through here, you can see we've already imported everything and configured everything for you. So all you need to do is just run npm install once you clone the repo. And we've got all of these placeholder functions here and a reference to what step they refer to within the challenge. So there's 10 steps. And all these different functions refer to a different step within the challenge. If we just scroll down here a little bit, we've got our data grid component. Here's the row data where we're pulling in the data that we showed you just a minute ago in the presentation. We've got our column definitions here, a very basic kind of setup, and then we have our actual component down here. So this is all designed to kind of let you hit the ground running, so you don't have to waste too much time getting things set up or configuring things. It's all about just kind of plugging the code into the right places and getting everything wired up. In the same sort of trend, we have the financial charts component, and essentially all you're going to need to do in here is just add those chart configuration options that we kind of touched on a moment ago within the presentation. Just to give you a little bit more context as well, all of this is housed within the app parent component. So we have our financial chart down here, we have our data grid down here, and we also have this state variable in here, which handles the selected row. So this kind of moves the context up a level for us. But as I mentioned, you'll pretty much just be working through these two files here, and hopefully the template and the structure that we've given you helps you get moving and get going as quickly as possible. So that is actually all I have for the presentation. I don't want to bore you too long with slides. So I just want to say good luck. I'll be present in the Discord channel. If there's anything you get stuck on, any issues, just give us a shout and we'll be there to help. Otherwise, we'll see you again in about 45 minutes time, where I'll run through all the different steps and kind of show you how it's done from a best practice AG Grid point of view. So I'll leave it there. Thank you all for your time and best of luck. We'll speak to you again soon.
Hey. So we have just one small thing that we want to mention. The GitHub link is 404 right now. Could you maybe make this public or something?
Of course, yeah, that shouldn't be the case. I apologize for that. Just 1 second.
Yes.
Just bear with me a moment. Wouldn't be a live coding challenge without some kind of little bug or issue. So let me just jump in here. Okay, I think it's because the repo is private, which I'm pretty sure I updated that, but let's just go through and fix that. Okay, just need to verify with GitHub. Everything very secure these days, so just bear with me 1 second.
And as we're waiting, I would also like to say good luck to everyone, and if you need any help, we will be on Discord.
Yeah, so that should be public now. So if you hit refresh on that page.
Yes, it's public. I just checked. Perfect. Thank you.
Lovely. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll speak to you again soon.